Chris, it's been a while, man. How you been?
Man, as I was just telling you, cold as hell, but surviving, man. You know, ready for hopefully a much better 2021. We got the hell out of 2020, and ready to talk this wonderful basketball team of ours.
Hell yeah, man. Weather, man, moving from New Orleans to Chicago, I do not envy you. It is quite the transition, bro.
Man, I don't even want to talk about it, man. I look right. Let me tell you the silly shit I do for like torture, right? I have in my weather app, I have Las Vegas, Chicago, New Orleans, and Miami in my like all in destinations in my phone, right?
Right.
So from time to time, when it gets like below 7 degrees out here, I'll go on my phone and be like, man, I wonder what it's like in Vegas or Miami and New Orleans. And I'll see something like Miami, it'd be like 68 degrees, and I just shake my head. So I'm a sick man, bro.
I feel your pain. I feel your pain. This Midwest weather, man. But haven't seen much from you on the bird rights in a while either. You got any articles cooking for us?
No, man, in all honesty, man, I've been really, I've been focusing on trying to, whether it be either joining more podcasts, or really I might end up starting one at some point. But outside of that, I just got with this group called Music, Movies, and Hoops, and I'll probably be doing like some a lot of hosting with them. I was on the Bird Rights podcast not so long ago, but I mean, to be honest, I haven't been doing a lot of writing. I think going forward, I'll be doing um, a lot more recording, and of course, it's still going to be with the Bird Rights. It's always going to be my family. But I mean, outside of them, I'm pretty much wherever I can really contribute. Using my voice and using my energy. I think I'm going to probably go that way as well, whether it be hosting or being a guest or a contributor. So I'm still going to write from time to time, but I'm kind of focused on some other things right now. I've been writing for like 3 years now. So I always have that to do, but I want to kind of grow in some other areas as well.
Hey man, let's get the ball rolling today. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You're one of my favorite guests for sure. So I'm excited to hear some stuff from you in the future, you hosting and stuff like that. And you always got a future guest right here. More than happy to talk some
Oh,
Pels.
I mean, I know, man. You gonna be one of the first people I call, bro.
Hey man, I appreciate it, bro. So follow that. I'm assuming you're going to be talking some Pels when you do that podcast hosting. So Pels took some heartbreaking loss last night to the Pacers, 118 to 116 in overtime. Really had it in the bag, and then they just flopped. Some really bad, poor game management by Stan Van Gundy. Bad officiating, really just a lot of bad stuff last night. A lot of good stuff too, but the bad things stick out in a loss like that. So, what were some of your big takeaways from the game last night against the Pacers?
Well, like a good majority of the games outside of maybe the Phoenix one. I mean, they battled. Um, they took some really good and strong punches from Indiana throughout the game, and it looked like they were right at the spot where they were going to be able to put them away. Um, even I mean, and persevering even while JJ Redick is still shooting completely frigid. Um, Everything didn't go as planned, like you said in the first quarter. There was some really bad officiating. There was some questionable calls in the second half as well, especially late in the game that didn't go their way. But they put themselves in a position to win a game that they should have. We can't really make any excuses outside of that. No matter what we talk about from a an officiating perspective, that loss falls on them. It falls on them. It falls on the coach, and it falls on the players to be able to get it done. But for me, my biggest takeaway is that it's things that I already knew. They're young, and these type of situations against good teams, they're gonna have to learn how to get through. You have a team like Indiana down, you got to find a way to put them away. You just have to. You can't throw that last punch and turn around and relax and take your foot off the pedal. No, that's a professional team, basketball team that's been in the playoffs a lot over the past 3 years, the past decade, and they're not gonna just go away. They're gonna believe that they still have a shot at winning, and you know, Even when Sabonis went down, most teams would that would have been the last blow. It wasn't for them. Then Miles Turner goes down in overtime. Same thing. There's so many different things to throw at you. Um, you can't simply be up by 10 even with 3 minutes to go, or up by 6 with less than a minute and think that it's over. And I think that that's something that they've learned, or that they will learn. Stan Van Gundy, I think he's starting to figure out that he's going to have to be more hands-on than he wants to be, and micromanage just a little bit in some of these areas versus trusting his players to make certain decisions, call a time out here, call one there. So yeah, I mean, it's a work in progress, man. But I think most people, if you would have told them that they would be 4-3 right now going into the OKC game tomorrow and then Charlotte after that, you take it.
Definitely, especially after last year. And I've said this about several of the Pelicans' wins, or I guess, yeah, their wins so far, is that those wins against like the Raptors, against the Spurs, those would have been losses last season. So you have to take the good with the bad right now. This loss to the Pacers, I'm assuming it would have been worse last year, even though the Pels did sweep the Pacers last season. But the Pacers they're without TJ Warren. They're without Jeremy Lamb. They had those foul troubles with their bigs. They're two of their stars. You got to take advantage. And I mean, you said it. This is a learning experience. They're going to have a lot of those probably this season, especially early on. And we're only 10% through the season so far. There's 65 more games left. The Pels will be fine. These are learning experiences. And I mean, Brandon Ingram and the head coach are both taking responsibility. These are two stars. The players are saying, hey, we have to get better at X, Y, Z. This isn't the bubble last season where Alvin Gentry came out and said, I don't think our energy was an issue. These are fundamental differences. And while the loss sucks, the way they lost really sucks. This is very much a learning thing.
I mean, you're watching them become adults. You're watching them show you. Well, and those who aren't there yet, they're showing you that they're on their way. Every game there isn't it's not a shoulder shrug, or it's not throwing someone else under the bus. It's not blaming officials. It's not doing any of that. While they may not be happy with some of the things that took place in those areas that I mentioned, they're blaming themselves first. They're looking in the mirror and saying there are things that we should have done. And that comes from up top. It comes from your leader. It comes from your head coach. And I even tweeted about it, and it's really interesting to me. Every game, win or loss, Stan Van Gundy's been the first person to criticize himself before anyone else can say anything about the team or blame a player or put him in a weird or difficult spot. He's choosing the high road and picking himself. He's throwing himself under the fire and say, yo, that's on me. I need to do that better. I was terrible there. That one was my fault. I got to do a better job there. It's not like, for example, Nick Nurse. I saw a quote from Nick Nurse in which he ended up, and rightfully so, he was mentioning about a lot of his bench players, and he named a few of them. He named Norman Powell. He named, I forgot the other two guys off the top of my head, but he basically was saying that those guys have not been playing well to start the year. Well, I mean, how easy would it be for Stan to throw JJ under the bus? And be honest, if he mentioned that JJ Redick is struggling right now, or if he mentioned that some of the sloppy play down the stretch was on the players, I don't think a lot of fans or media members would necessarily blame him for it.
Especially last night.
Yeah, a lot of people wouldn't blame him for it necessarily. But when it's all said and done, he's choosing to realize the ways that he messed up and the things that he could have done that probably would have helped change that outcome a little bit more.
I think you hit it on the head when you said, I think it's the first thing you said after what I just said about the team learning, was that they're becoming adults. You hit it on the head, man. One of the big changes into adulthood, into manhood for these guys is taking responsibility for their actions and for where they can get better. And number one thing I've noticed in these last two games in terms of really becoming a man, because he is one of the younger players, is Jaxson Hayes is actually not awful. He looked pretty good these last two games in terms of how he has looked. He looks more comfortable on offense. He had improved recoveries in the pick and roll as opposed to just seeing his guy and not sprinting back. He's looked a lot better these last 2 games. Have you seen anything else other than what I just mentioned?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think for him, the biggest thing that I notice is his activity rebounding has been a little bit better. Jaxson does, and a lot of young guys do it, man. They ball watch too often, or they give other players around him the benefit of the doubt versus doing it themselves. And Jaxson just, he has a bad knack of watching things around him versus unless it's an alley oop attempt or it's a weak side block. Jackson's normally watching his process and his ability to process and immediately act. It has a long way to go. And I think the last few games or the last couple games, you've seen him maybe not think as much and just really go out there and play, go out there and move. He's been a little bit more decisive, mainly on the offensive side of things. And when that ball is in the air, he's not waiting for Josh Hart to come back and grab the rebound. He's not waiting for anyone else. He's going out there and securing it himself. Now, defensively, he is a work in progress. And I teams with good low post players are gonna take advantage of that every night. He's still he still has not found a way consistently to stay on his feet. I will give him credit for not fouling as much. His foul rate last year was terrible. So far, it has not been that. But I mean, look, we got to be happy that he simply had back-to-back good games, respectable games, to where he can be playable on the floor. And what you hope and what you want to see is that he can continue to build on that to where we're at some point looking at him as a plus. And because I mean, I look at a guy that he didn't really add much from last offseason or from the bubble until now. He looks pretty much as the same player. But if he can do the simple things that's needed, setting the screens, rolling decisively, and making and cutting, getting to the basket, being physical at the point of attack to where he's able to get to the free throw line, because for his size, he's been a good free throw shooter. Last year he was about, I think, around 60%, but that stroke seems to be I think his last 3 games he was like 6 for 6 or something. So he seems to be finding a rhythm there. It's not much that we're gonna be able to do for him defensively. I understand that. It is what it is. But if Jaxson can if he can rebound, if he can set screens, if he can make the play that's there, if he can make the plays that are there for him to make, use his ability and at worst to get to the free throw line, he can be out there and soak up some minutes until Steven Adams gets out there.
Right. And he doesn't have to be Steven Adams. He doesn't have to be the next Steven Adams. He can be serviceable. Right now, he can be serviceable and use his athleticism. And
right.
That's all you need from Jaxson Hayes, as long as he isn't completely lost, as long as he's not watching the ball to the degree, especially that he was last year. I love that you hit that. He is going after boards much better this season. We'll hit one more positive, and then there's one really big negative we got to talk about before we transition to the next topic. But Zion, to me, he looks like he's getting better at passing out of those double teams, and he is recognizing when to attack before the double comes. Is he perfect? No, but he looks like he's getting better there to me. Those first few games, he didn't look quite ready for it.
I mean, he hasn't. I mean, again, similar in some cases, similar to Jaxson, man. I mean, and I guess even more for for Zion, because he's played even less amount of total NBA time. It's gonna take. I mean, we haven't seen even half of the NBA season's worth of games from him, I believe. No, you know what I'm saying? So, we're talking about a 20-year-old man that is receiving the looks that 25-year-olds in their prime get. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's getting doubled in the post at 20 years old.
Uh-huh.
That's unheard of. It didn't happen with Anthony Davis. When Anthony Davis was in New Orleans, he wasn't getting doubled that fast. Not by his second year. It doesn't happen with many guys. There's not an influx of post players that receive that attention so early. So, we have to keep that in context, or in the right perspective, that that's hard for someone who is 30 to be able to grasp, right? If you're not used to getting those looks consistently and at that level. For him to be receiving it at 20 years old, um, he's gonna take some bumps. It's not always gonna look pretty. He's gonna fail. He's gonna make mistakes. But the good thing for him is that Zion's a guy that, he's going to put in the work. He's going to ask questions, and they are going to work with him. That staff is going to work with him to put him in the spots to where, no, all right, you got to know that if someone coming backside, or, how quickly, when that entry pass is thrown to you, how quickly do you expect to be able to make a move? You know what I'm saying? This team is going to be ready for your spin moves, Zion. So, I mean, I think that the good news for him and the team in total, he doesn't look to be in that same stubborn stance that sometimes we've seen him at, to where he's forcing things. And while every possession won't be pretty, and there's going to be times, like you mentioned, where it will be clunky. He will turn the ball over. He will take shots that end up, that are probably fouls that won't get called. He will be frustrated. That's going to be a part of the Zion experience. But I think good for him that he has continued. If he has to take a bounce and throw a cross court, he will, and reset the offense. That's big for him. Just simply resetting the offense. And I've seen a lot of that. And I think that's a good sign, because he's going to get better, just like with everything else. I mean, if this is what he's seeing at 20, he's going to continue to see. He's going to see it at 21, 22, 23. Zion's a smart enough basketball player. He's talented enough to be able to make it work. So if he can stay out there on the floor, and he's seeing these looks every night, he'll be much better over time.
The thing is, too, he is a very underrated passer. And once JJ starts hitting shots, once the bench hopefully scores more than 25.7 points a game, these guys, I mean, he'll be looked at even better, because he's passing out of those double teams and players are hitting shots. They're scoring off those double teams. And that's the thing to talk about right now, is that 25.7 points a game from your bench, dead last in the NBA. Second to last is Houston, and they're at 29.2. I mean, JJ is he is a iceberg right now, unable to hit just about anything. He is making veteran plays, which you love to see. 3 charges, I think he took last night. I think he hit 1 3, but hopefully that changes. I mean, I don't know what else to do. Josh Hart, he's just really that intangible guy. He is a guy that works hard. He's going to get you boards, and he'll score a few buckets for you, but he's not a 15-8 kind of guy. He's like a 10-9 kind of guy. So I mean, I don't know what you do. If JJ's not hitting shots, Josh Hart's not a scorer, where are you going to get your scoring from the bench? I genuinely, I mean, Jaxson Hayes isn't going to score a bunch of points for you. I mean, he's getting to the free throw line. He's making free throws now, but what do the Pels do? Do they just wait until Wenyen Gabriel gets healthy, hope he hits some corner threes? I mean, this is a pretty big problem.
Well, I mean, look, it's a blessing that you can even be talking about a team that's 4-3 with the bench that is struggling in that manner.
Right.
And it's funny because, Stan wants to run lineups where either Zion or BI are always on the floor. And a lot of times Zion ends up starting that second quarter with Brandon on the bench, and it's normally a bench lineup. Well, I think, and going back to what we were just, our previous conversation or our previous topic, a lot of his development as a passer out of these double teams are going to have to do with guys hitting shots. If he's making the right pass, people are going to have to knock it down, because Zion's not going to be able to create for you in the same way that Brandon can. He's not going to be able to provide the same kind of looks consistently that Brandon will be able to do, attacking from the perimeter at the top of the key, whatever the case is. So, it is important that these guys off the bench, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, JJ Redick, of course, knocks down some shots. Josh Hart hits some corner threes. But, I mean, look, JJ, and I was just talking about this on Twitter, man. I mean, he's ice cold to start the year. And look, I mean, if he hits one three yesterday, if he hits that corner three, I know he hit the one coming off of a screen. I think it was mid or early fourth quarter.
Yeah,
But if he hits that last
he was
one,
wide open on that too. Malcolm Brogdon lost him. Yeah.
he hits that one in the corner, man, the game's over with. The league goes from 6-9, and we're not even, we're not talking about them collapsing yesterday, right? I don't worry about one of the 20 greatest NBA shooters finding his shot. I just don't. He's the looks that he's taking now, he's going to make it. So for me, the questions rely around the other guys. Stan, and he's talked about it already, I think he's going to have to find creative ways to give Nickeil Alexander Walker minutes consistently, and consistent minutes, and maybe a consistent rotation around players that he's going to be able to get some type of chemistry with, versus random lineups and trying to pitch him. I mean, and this is the downfall of having a new system and a new coach in a shortened season in a pandemic. You don't really have time to really play with things and try to figure out if this works or that works, or if these two guys or three guys play together, how this lineup works. So there may be games where he's going to have to gamble and try a few things. But at some point, I think with this team, he's going to have to do it, because even when JJ gets going, he's going to need some consistent help there. You're not expecting Josh Hart to have, he's averaging about 9 points a game right now. 9 to 13 on most nights are probably what you're going to get from Josh, right? So you're going to need other guys to be able to create. Are you giving Kyrie Lewis Jr., some time? That may be something to look into. Like you said, can Wenyen Gabriel come in and hit a couple corner threes, be able to help you out in transition, on some big plays? I mean, what exactly is he going to be able to bring you there using his athleticism on the offensive side of the basketball? I mean, there's a bunch of questions, but I mean, to be honest, man, they don't have a bunch of depth coming off of that bench to really help you. So, I mean, what I would do, in all honesty, especially with Eric Bledsoe struggling in the way that he's been, I would exclusively run him and Zion with that second unit to start that second quarter, giving Eric the complete freedom to be able to attack in the way that he wants to in that pick and roll with Zion. And for me, make that your show coming in off the bench. While Eric's starting, take him out in a second, in the with 6 minutes left in the first quarter, let whether it be Josh or JJ or both soak up some time there, bring Eric and Zion together back in the beginning of the second quarter, and then find guys that fit around them, because I think that you can still see, and yesterday was another example. Eric Bledsoe has moments and times where he's finding some comfort in when to attack, where to attack, when should he look for his, and when should he just run the offense. Well, I think in a lineup like that, off the surrounded with maybe a bench unit, it doesn't matter. He has nothing to lose in that case. He can attack in the way that he wants to. That's what I would go with, because I think that you're going to need, when the starters end up coming back in the game, the three guys that you're going to have to, or the four guys that you're going to need together for the stretch run of that second half, or for the fourth quarter, and your most important parts are going to be Lonzo, Brandon, Zion, and Steven Adams. So I will maybe try some looks like that. Even if Bledsoe's not playing with Zion, I think he needs to be your initial attacker, and the guy kind of leading that second unit, along with JJ or along with Josh Hart, depending on how you use those minutes.
I like that too, because it's a spark plug for that beginning of that second quarter. Because if Bledsoe gets to attack, that's going to get things rolling. And we saw him flying up the court last night. When he has the ball in his hands and they're in transition, that's what he's going to do. And if he has the freedom to attack the basket, that's going to energize him, make him feel like he is a real veteran on this team. And in the pick and roll, Zion's going to get the ball and punish some people too.
I mean, because he can't, let's call a spade a spade. When Brandon's in the game, and especially with Zion, it's a two-man show. It just is what it is. And everybody else is pretty much standing around, Lonzo maybe standing in the corner or, at the elbow 3 position. Bledsoe's on the opposite end. I mean, that's pretty much it. Well, you got to find a way to – Lonzo's going to fit in regardless. But Bledsoe in particular, he needs the ball to feel a part of the game, I think. It's just he's used to scoring the basketball. Zion had to remind him, like, yo, man, you score 20 points a game in this league, man. Be aggressive. Well, it would be a lot easier for him to be aggressive if he can split some time away from guys that are going to have the basketball a lot or take up a big amount of the usage. I think that's going to fall on Stan to have to switch some of his lineups and his rotations and who he plays who with, because I think Bledsoe will probably help you more away from away from Brandon Ingram than he would consistently playing next to him when you consider the type of player that Bledsoe is.
I agree. And that's a reason why a lot of us in Pelicans media have been talking about Bledsoe coming off the bench. Whether he buys into that or not is a whole nother question. I mean, he's been starting for his whole career. He's kind of known as a bulldog guy, but I like the idea. And I find it tough to see him being somebody who's going to be as effective off the ball with this team, just because, like you said, Zion, Brandon Ingram going to be dominating the ball. I mean, he's not that great of a shooter, except for against the Toronto Raptors, apparently. And you're just not going to get that every night from him. And I like the idea to start the second quarter. You're going to need shooters around those two, though. Pels just don't have it right now. They just don't have it right now. I think once JJ starts hitting shots, and I mean, you can count on Nikhil for a 1 or 2 threes a game, but if you put those two in there and have them play off ball, I think that's something that can work. And maybe Jaxson Hayes at the 5, but we'll see what happens there. We'll see if they look to institute something like that. But look into this game against the Thunder tomorrow. What I'm looking for in this one is what Brandon Ingram said post-game yesterday. He said the team is not discouraged. He said this loss sucks, but we're going to bounce back. And that's what I want to see. I want to see energy from the get-go. I want to see, look, we learned. It's the same thing as that Phoenix game is you watch the tape, you learn, you burn the tape, you move on. That's what I want to see in this Thunder game. I would love to see another blowout. I would love to see another comfortable win. Preferably Brandon Ingram doesn't get ejected. Are you looking for anything like that? Are you looking for anything else against the Thunder tomorrow?
No, I mean, just a team that's going to respond, like you said, like they've done all year. I mean, look, when they had that tough loss against Miami, they came back out the next game, ready to go. They won. When they got their doors blown off against Phoenix, they came back out the next night, the next game against, I believe it was Oklahoma City, and they won. This game here, you have a tough loss, you come back out against Oklahoma City, you win. I mean, you're gonna take losses, and I think that the good news is, I mean, and I'm with you. Not only do I believe Brandon from just him, what he believes or what he saw in the locker room, I believe it based off what I saw from the press conferences. Outside of Stan, nobody really looked frustrated. When you saw Zion talk up there, he didn't look like he was dejected at all. They know that they were supposed to win that game, but the season is young. I think they like where they're at, and they know coming into the year. I mean, damn, man. I mean, the team was like 6-22 at one point last year. You know what I'm saying? Things can get a hell of a lot worse. You know what I mean? You could be the Toronto Raptors right now, being a really talented team, and you can't beat anybody. So I think given their situation, similar to what I said to start the show, man, given the situation, given this new staff, given the short turnaround, some new players trying to find their role and some others trying to establish themselves. I mean, they went from the bottom of the pack defensively to one of the better defensive teams. They have a lot to be proud of and a lot to look forward to going forward. And if offense is the only thing that they're missing, I mean, they have the firepower to make it work once some guys get going. So, yeah, man, I mean, I just want to see them respond. I want to see them out on the attack and hungry right away. And just as they did in that fourth quarter, at the end of that third quarter against Oklahoma City, when they have a team by their neck, I want to see them put them away, period. Don't waste your time. Don't play with your food. Put them away.
Stomp on their throat, man. It's a cutthroat league. And I think you really hit it on the head. We got to be patient. This is a young team. They had 3 weeks together for training camp. 3 weeks. Young team, bunch of new guys, completely new staff, and they already look quite a bit better in a lot of areas as opposed to last season. We're only 10% in. 10% in. We gotta keep that in mind. Chris, before we let you go, I had a list of general NBA stuff to hit on, but I know you loved that game from Steph Curry the other night, and you said Steph's going to have 74 and they're going to win by 5. I love that tweet. That was peak Chris Connor tweet moment. But do you think Steph can maintain this the rest of the season? I mean, he's going to have to be like, he was unanimous MVP, 30 points a game, but he also had Clay. He also had Draymond the whole season, Andre Iguodala, Harrison Barnes when he was somewhat effective still with that team. And with those ankles, we know he's been able to maintain. We know he's been able to play for a long time, but he does have that history of ankle injuries. No Clay, no KD. If Kelly Oubre starts hitting shots, I feel a lot better. They just got Draymond back, so their depth isn't as big of an issue. But do you think Steph is going to maintain? Do you think he can maybe even win MVP this season with how the roster is currently constructed and all the things that I just mentioned?
I mean, I don't know if he can win MVP, and I mean, hell, like, and I don't know if 62 and 30 and 3/4 is necessarily sustainable.
No, not that,
right? But I mean, man, like it's similar to what I said about Jay-Z, except I don't know, it's the greatest shooter of all time now, right? Yeah. Like Steph was shooting before the game against Portland, or the second game when he went off, he was shooting like 32% from deep. It's like, bro, you think that's gonna continue?
Yeah.
Like, this ain't like Kelly, even with Kelly Oubre, he was shooting 4%. You think that's gonna continue? It's not. These guys are going to be better. They just are. They're good basketball players, and in Steph's case, he's great. We were talking about, a lot with Golden State. They were talking about Andrew Wiggins and his struggles. Man, he may have put together a bunch of empty numbers in his career. He's not my favorite player, and you may question his heart, but he's talented and he can play. And guess what? He's been playing a lot better as of late, and no one said a word. You know what I mean? So only a matter of time. Wiseman, very, very, very talented big, who's only going to get better. Only going to get better playing with them. And they just got Draymond back, who, he's not going to put up amazing box score numbers. You're not going to be able to find out his impact by, unless you watch the game, but he makes a difference when he's on the floor on both sides, offensively and defensively. And he adds something to Steph. It's just a different level of comfort when Steph looks across the floor and he sees Draymond with his tongue out standing across the, it's different. It does something for him. You know what I'm saying? It just does. So I don't know. I don't think that they're going to rank high in the West. But I think Steph is going to average 28, 20 to 30 points a game. And he may be in the MVP conversation, but they're going to be a playoff team. And I thought that last year when I watched them struggle, before Steph and Draymond got hurt, I thought some of that would be similar, but they're not going to be a bad team. It's just not going to happen. So if they're not a playoff team, they're going to be in the discussion. People they need to respect Steph. They need to respect, greatness, man. And, we got to stop overreacting to small sample sizes with some of the greatest to ever do something in our generation, man, or ever. You know what I mean?
Prisoners of the moment, man. That's what we are, especially in sports. That's what we are. Steph said, "I'll take your slander, and then I'll take all your apologies in writing," is what he did.
Yeah.
That is what he did against the Trailblazers. One of the most fun games I've probably seen in a long time. Damian Lillard, those two going back and forth. Just a blast. Steph is going to be very fun to watch this season. Folks, he is Chris Connor. He is at Impatient Bull on Twitter. Make sure you give him a follow. One of my favorite follows on Twitter. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today, man. Sorry we had to keep it short, but next time, hopefully we'll be able to keep you around a little bit longer.
That's for sure. And listen, man, we gonna talk about our fantasy football rankings from earlier, our last conversation.
Yeah,
we gonna have this talk, bro.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna tell you, we're gonna have this talk. But I'm gonna get out this cold, man. It was a pleasure being on as well, man. Keep doing what you're doing, Brody.
Always good talking to you, brother.
All right, man. Anytime.